Welcome all who might find in our friendship strength and encouragement for daily living. Good morning, and welcome to the Universalist Unitarian Church of Farmington. My name is Mark Petrie. I've been a member here since 2016, which that book just reminded me this morning. I thought it was 2017, it's 2016. This morning, we are fortunate to have Jenn Garland as our guest speaker today to share her experiences with children's advocacy. And we can tell you a little bit more about Jenn later in the service. I'd like to extend a special welcome to any visitors today. After the service, we invite you to stay for coffee downstairs in Adams Hall. When in the meeting house, we are observing COVID precautions and wearing masks regardless of vaccination status. Religious education classes are being held in the RE classrooms during the service. An usher can direct you to those locations if needed. Joys and sorrows can be shared later in the service. You can come to the microphone, fill out a blue card that's found in the pews, or you can even text the phone number listed on page 2 in the order of service. Please take a moment now to silence your phones. And if you could please join me in the shared affirmation of our mission. We seek answers everywhere, include everyone, and live with compassion. Okay, we can move on to our announcements today. First, we have an announcement about our member, Virginia Slotkin, who is celebrating 108 years today. How about that? So we hope she is watching us from home. Hello, Virginia. Happy birthday. Next Sunday, February 12th, we will be holding a committee fair in Adams Hall after the service. This is a fun event that we try to do annually. Each committee from our church will have a small station with information about what the committee is responsible for and maybe some treats to share. Please stop by a station or two to find out what the committees need. Volunteering for a committee is the best way to feel like you are a member of this community, especially the fundraising committee. Please check the UUCF website or emails for other announcements about upcoming events. And I believe we have some more folks who'd like to share some announcements.
Social justice. It is my great pleasure to tell you that I cannot do math. We have indeed received the Good Trouble Congregation Award from the UUA. So we are officially a Good Trouble. Thanks for all your hard work in the fall. We will be recognized on February 28th. They're having a nationwide podcast celebration. They are sending us treats and balloons and swag, and we will be in Adams Hall at 7 p.m. on February 28th celebrating. Please join us there.
Good morning. Tom and Hope from the membership committee. And if they're not going to join you, they can come over to us.
Membership is great too.
We have another event coming up in 2 weeks, a play at the Farmington Players. We got it extended a little bit so we can get some more reservations. We already have 13 people coming. Hopefully we can get some more. Costs $20. You get to see Wait Until Dark. And we're going to have a potluck here before the event. So kick it around, get to Hope or me in the next week or so, and we'll get you on the list.
Okay, thank you. Please rise as you are willing and able for our first hymn, number 338, in the blue hymnal, I Seek the Spirit of a Child. And for our next reading, I will introduce Jenn here for our next reading. Jenn Garland serves. Oh, sorry. Oh, did I skip over? Oh, that's right there. That's very important. Okay. As part of our service this morning, we are pleased to welcome those who have chosen to become members of our congregation. The decision to become a member is an expression of spiritual commitment. Through your individual spiritual journeys and questioning continue, you have nevertheless come to a time in your journey where you are willing to say, yes, this is my spiritual home. Today we celebrate that homecoming. At this time, I would like to invite our board president, Liz Knight, to come forward and welcome our new members.
Good morning, all. I was just thinking this morning as I was coming in that this is such a wonderful community that you all are joining today because as I'm listening to what you might call the din of conversation before service started, to me it is the joy of conversation and friends and connections being made this morning. As president of the executive board, it's my pleasure to welcome Kyle Stewart, Becca Seaton, and Anthony Dondero up to join our congregation. Our individual journeys have brought us together in this moment and in this place to share a common purpose and vision for the collective future. Through your choice to join this congregation, you've expressed your intention to commit to our vision, promote our principles, and be a part of this community. Through you, our new members, the congregation is renewed. We welcome and honor the diversity you bring, which increases the vitality and creativity of our community. We embrace you this day, honoring the talents and energy you add to the congregation, and encourage you to savor the journey you've begun to find a place in our congregation that's distinctively yours. May your spirit be nurtured here as together we do our part to create a loving, just, and sustainable world. We welcome Kyle Stewart, Becca Seaton, and their children Henry and Matt to UUCF. They've been coming as a family since early this summer, but I know that they've been here in the past prior to that. And between them have become very involved in activities, including RE, helping with the soundboard, Chalice Circle, and the new UU and U sessions. Anthony Dondero was first exposed to Unitarian Universalism in North Carolina and has been a regular here with his godson Damien. And I think the first time I met you was back before we were even in the building. I remember having conversations with you outside in the warm, sunny weather, I'm thinking. So we certainly welcome them all into our family. Now, the official business. So while Becca is signing, this is actually part due of our new member ceremony. We had everyone planned to come 2 or 3 Sundays ago when it was very snowy, but as the weather, I think, withheld many, and winter is always a little unpredictable, we did to do it again today. It is my pleasure to welcome these new members into our community. Will you please join me in a round of applause? As a renewal of our own commitment to this community, would the congregation please affirm the following welcome to our new members? With the joy we affirm and recognize your decision to become members of this beloved community. We pledge to support you in your search for truth, celebrate with you in times of joy, help in times of trouble, and join with you in rightful action. Congregation, if you affirm these sentiments, please say, "We do." We do. And to the new members, by joining the UU Church of Farmington, you commit to supporting one another in your efforts to speak honestly, to act with compassion, to love without prejudice, and live with integrity, to respond with courage to the demands of justice. You pledge to support our congregation and the association for which it is a part, as you are able, with your hearts and hands, your talents and resources. New members, if you affirm these sentiments, please say, "We do." We do. In our work together across the generations, may we become a more effective instrument of service, a voice for liberation, reason, and respect, and a community in which we can honor all that life brings to us. Recognizing that we all have ministries to fulfill, may we celebrate together in unity of spirit and universality of love. May it be so.
All right. So for our next reading, I will go ahead and introduce our speaker, Jenn Garland. Jenn serves as the Michigan PTA Vice President of Children's Advocacy. She's a legal secretary and the mother of 3 grown children. She and her husband, Paul, have lived in Farmington Hills since 2002 and have recently celebrated their 33rd wedding anniversary. Between her paid job and her volunteer work, she enjoys hiking, puzzles, and any time spent with friends and family. Come on up, Jenn. The reading starts right
at the
there.
bottom.
There you go.
Today's reading is by Patrick T. O'Neill. Among the most accomplished and fabled tribes of Africa, no tribe was considered to have warriors more fearsome or more intelligent than the mighty Maasai. It is perhaps surprising then to learn that the traditional greeting that's passed between Maasai warriors, Kasarian and Gera, one would always say to another. It means, "And how are the children?" It's still the traditional greeting among the Maasai, acknowledging the high value that the Maasai always place on their children's well-being. Even warriors with no children of their own always give the traditional answer, "All the children are well." Meaning, of course, that peace and safety prevail, that the priorities of protecting the young, the powerless are in place, that Maasai society has not forgotten its reason for being, its proper functions and responsibilities. All the children are well means that life is good. It means that the daily struggles for existence do not preclude proper caring for their young. I wonder how it might affect our consciousness if of our own children's welfare, if in our culture we took to greeting each other with this daily question, "And how are the children?" I wonder if we heard that question and passed it along to each other a dozen times a day, if it would begin to make a difference in the reality of how children are thought of or cared about in our country. I wonder if every adult among us, parent and non-parent alike, felt an equal weight for the daily care and protection of all the children in our community, in our town, in our state, and in our country. I wonder if we could truly say, without any hesitation, the children are well. Yes, all the children are well. What would it be like if the minister began every worship service by answering the question, "And how are the children?" If every town leader had to answer the question at the beginning of every meeting, "And how are the children? Are they all well?" Wouldn't it be interesting to hear their answers? What would it be like, I wonder? this works. Kyle? Maybe we should back out and start over?
Yeah, I think it fell asleep.
It fell asleep, okay, so present.
Yeah.
Present, it's not present.
Well, it might be.
Yeah, and then we have to drag this over again. We had it set to go. We're putting Kyle through his chops.
This is the hazing, right, of the new membership? Just turn it off and on again.
Just, yeah, replug it in, all of the things. It's not showing.
Okay, give it a second. Is that the actual professional back there now?
Oh, good, backup plan.
No, I'm the backup plan. He's the plan of the line.
It's communicating. I'm gonna escape out of this and start again. It's on. Ooh, yellow. It worked so well before.
I know. Okay, remember, I'm going to do the panicking for us.
That's right, you're doing the panicking.
Please hold.
Where's the hold music?
Diane's not there. It's a wiring diagram.
So there's a smiley face. Nothing could actually be wrong.
Right?
You'd never show you a smiley face if there was something wrong.
And click it there. Now it's on.
Just had to turn all the things off and on again.
Press escape. And then
Yeah.
there. And then yeah.
We'll represent. We got it.
Reshare, reconnect, all of the.
How dare you?
Now we just have to make it full screen. Okay. And then I can, yeah.
There we go.
I don't
Are
need,
you good?
I'm good from this moment. Thank
Okay.
you so much, Kyle. Except that it won't let me. Where did it go? No. I'm doing it. Okay. So it said the dragging point again. Try that again.
There's an off chance that it's doing something odd when you're interacting with the second screen.
Okay, so see how it still has this, and I can't get it to turn off.
All right, so let's say,
See
I see what's happening, yes.
what's going on?
I just need to close that first.
There we go. Okay.
All right, I think we're in.
We're in business for a moment.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
stand over here.
lurk nearby. Thanks, Kyle. Okay. Oh my gosh. What did you do?
I walked away.
It just went through the entire presentation and like disappeared. Okay. Whoa. I'm not moving. I'm standing right here. Okay. Let's start and see what happens. So Michigan PTA, Parent Teacher Association, Advocacy, what it is, what it's not, and where it stands today, and how I got here. Most folks know PTA from TV and movies, and if not in their own lives. And PTA gets a bad rap for being cliquish and all about bake sales and other fundraising, right? But PTA is a lot more than that. Let's see if it will let me advance. Yay! PTA is the oldest and largest volunteer child advocacy association in the United States. National PTA was founded 126 years ago, and Michigan PTA is 105 years old this year. Some of the few things that we have advocated for along the way, and it's not letting me do this either. Let's see. There we go. Advocacy is our why, right? So some of the things that we've accomplished are kindergarten, the juvenile justice system, hot lunches, immunizations, child labor laws. So here in Michigan, at the state level, we receive guidance, training, and support from National PTA, and then we in turn provide those things for our constituent units across the state and councils in Michigan. Every PTA at any level is a 501c3 organization, and that means that we are nonpartisan. We cannot support political candidates or parties, but we do take positions on issues. We can and do engage with elected officials and candidates. The mouse thing. Maybe if I hold it over here. It won't let me. I'm sorry. It's not letting me look at my notes, which is lovely. Okay, so we do that through action alerts, advocacy days, forums and town halls, emails and phone calls, coffee hours, and we can and do invite them to our PTA meetings. And here I wanted to say that we need to recognize that that's a two-way street, right? We invite a principal, administrator, school board member to our PTA meeting. We might learn a lot from them, but in turn, they're learning a lot about us and what we stand for. So it's always an important thing to do. So I don't serve at the state level alone. This is my entire committee. First I want to point out that there is an individual who's a federal legislative chair, and her purview is the national, the federal legislation. So she is an appointed position, and she also serves on our state level advocacy committee. So the remaining members of the committee a lot of them are additional Michigan PTA board members. A lot of them are school board trustees. We have certain people that are serving as representatives on key educational organizations, such as the Special Education Coalition of Michigan. We have a representative on many of these types of groups. So we all start out by advocating on behalf of our own children, and then we start branching out their class, their school, the district, right? Eventually we are arguing for improvements in the world of all children, Advocacy can be very local. It's every parent that's ever had a conversation with a teacher about what was best for their child is advocacy, right? And it can be very broad. We can be contacting federal legislators about national education issues or funding, and it can occur at every level in between. And so I had something else, but I can't see it, so we're skipping. Advocacy works through communication, collaboration, relationships, resolutions and position statements, and education. So communication is key to everything we do. It's emails and calls and press, social media. We maintain a website, and branding is the colors, the fonts, the logos that we're allowed to use to represent PTA. Collaboration, an individual PTA member might not have enough clout on a specific issue. You might not make much headway, but if they partner together with an additional member or a coalition of larger group of people, they can often have their collective voices sway. Relationships. I really wish I could get to this. We foster and maintain ties with decision makers at every level. It's really key to being able to make headway on issues. Resolutions and position statements are how we set policy at PTA at every level. And education. See how I can't. So education is what I'm doing today. I'm educating you, if I can get my stuff to work. It's like, oh, see? Why wasn't it over there? Okay. It's a mystery. It's a mystery. Okay. So education is an ongoing effort both to widen our networks and include diverse perspectives, and also let others know what we do and what we stand for, and is what I'm doing right now. It's going backwards. That's fabulous. Let's go forwards. So here's my PTA journey, and that's a lovely picture of me from a welcome back picnic at Kenbrook in, I don't know, 2007 maybe. So I'll just point out a couple things here. We moved to Farmington Hills in 2002, like it said in my bio. And while I might not have led a whole lot in those first few years, I was busy being a room parent, a newsletter editor. Do you remember newsletters? Math Olympiads coach, that type of thing. In 2006, I was asked to serve as the president of the Kenbrook Elementary PTA, and I said yes, and there began a whole, it's disappeared again. Let's see if I can go. As I grew in my leadership skills and my contacts, my children advanced, from school building to school building, and I went with them. And there was always another PTA role for me to step into in each new building. Except in 2010, my youngest found himself as a new student at the Warner Upper Elementary School after the redistricting. And there was a lot of angst among parents and students about that new situation. And so I was proud to serve as the recording secretary of the newly created Warner PTA. And it was a good example to set for my son and his peers about how to handle that kind of situation. In 2011, both my older children were at North, and I got there, and there wasn't a PTA. My friend Chris Gregg had already created a PTA at Farmington High School, and so we got together and we chartered a new North Farmington PTSA. And the PTSA, and I was its first president. And the PTSA is different because the S stands for students. So students are old enough then to hold office, be on committees, work on projects, and earn scholarships. And then, I spent the last 11 years serving at the district level, which is the council, the Farmington Area PTA Council. That represents all the PTAs in the Farmington Public School District. And in 2019, I was tapped to start serving at state level, and I'm still there. So let's see. And these are my responsibilities. So that's a blurry picture of us meeting with Senator Moss in Representative Gregg's boardroom at Advocacy Day, probably in 2017. There's a big contingent from Farmington High School, mostly. I'm a member of the Michigan PTA Board of Directors. We have monthly board meetings, and I have to do a report that's, a week before. We have a Michigan PTA newsletter called The Newsflash that's published every other month, and I have to mandatory articles submitted for that. I lead the chair of the Advocacy Committee, who you previously met, and we meet monthly, but we also meet in between times as situations warrant. We are in the throes of planning our first in-person annual Michigan PTA Advocacy Day in Lansing since 2019. I'm the moderator for the Michigan PTA Advocacy Facebook group, which is a private group where we share things. And we create and present workshops at Convention and Summer Leadership Academy about advocacy and issues. I am also the chair of the Resolutions Committee, which only exists if there are resolutions that are submitted. Last year we had 3, so we did a lot of work. And we prepare resolutions for approval by the board of directors, and if then they are then approved, they go to the membership for vote. I am also the chair of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, which meets monthly, and in that role I invite speakers and organize student panels, and there's also a Michigan DEI committee Facebook group, same private group. So National PTA has given us these national standards for family school partnerships, which are guidelines that inform everything we do in PTA at every level. Families are essential partners to schools and in the shared mission to help every child reach their full potential. So standard 1 is welcoming all families, and that's where we build a community of belonging and create an inclusive environment. Standard 2, communicate effectively. Maybe not so well today, sorry. Exchange information between school and families and facilitate parent-teacher communication. Standard 3 is supporting student success. Are the families, students, and educators on the same page about how students are progressing? Are families value partners in their children's learning at home and at school? And then standard 4 is speaking up for every child. So here we have a couple of different paths. Navigating the school system, are families knowledgeable and able to raise questions or concerns about their child's educational experiences? And then the other prong is addressing inequitable outcomes and access. Do the school and PTA remove barriers for families to be advocates for and with students, particularly those who are most marginalized? Standard 5 is sharing power. Strengthen the family's voice and shared decision-making. Are families partners in making decisions that affect their children at school and in the community, and build families' connections? Do families have a strong, broad-based organization that offers regular opportunities to develop relationships and raise concerns with school leaders, public officials, and business and community leaders? Hint, PTA. And then standard 6 is collaborating with the community, building a strong foundation for community partnerships and connecting the school. Ooh, just zip back to the top, hold on. The school collaborates with community organizations and members to connect students, families, and staff to expanded learning opportunities, community services, and civic participation. So this is where I promised that we delve a little deeper on resolutions. Resolutions call attention to a problem and the need for action on a particular issue. And they're a major source of policy for the Michigan PTA and our units and councils. If a problem or situation has statewide implications affecting children and youth and warrants PTA action, because not all things do, a convention resolution is one way to authorize that action. So here's a short history lesson, and I know there's a lot up there, but we ratified 3 resolutions last year at the 2022 Michigan PTA Convention. Safe storage of firearms, supportive and inclusive schools, and seizure-safe schools. Here it goes again. And after those were ratified by our membership last year, the Resolutions Committee submitted 2 of those to National PTA for consideration, the Safe Storage of Firearms and the Seizure-Safe Schools resolution. There was already an existing National PTA resolution on inclusive practices, so we didn't provide that one. And then we were told that Illinois PTA also submitted a Safe Storage of Firearm resolution. So we were asked by National to work together with Illinois to come up with a joint resolution. And I was just notified a couple weeks ago that the National PTA Board of Directors had approved both our Michigan PTA Seizure Safe Schools resolution and the joint Illinois PTA, Michigan PTA Safe Firearm Storage resolution, which will both be presented to the delegates to vote on, up or down vote at the 2023 National PTA Convention. And that is really cool because if they pass, then they become policy for national and all the states. So this is where I really need to be able to get into this side. Let's see if I can make it happen again. Our Michigan PTA president, Tracy Troy, led the Governor's Michigan Parents Council, MPC. I'm going to say MPC because it's a lot easier, which provided a formal opportunity for parents and families to engage at the state level in education policy and the budget-making process. And while I can't get this thing to work again, these are the 4 subject areas where the surveys and the, oh, well, I have all this other stuff. Can you, Kyle? Thank you. It's stuck on that side, and I don't know how to get it over.
Go up and over.
Up and over, like all the way up to the white? Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. And the minute you walked away, it did it again. Yeah, here, I get it. It's not.
Sounds weird, you gotta give it kind of a shake. I don't know why it's trapping it in
Okay,
there, but.
thank you. I'm just
blame-
gonna leave it there.
blame
It's 'cause
Canva.
it's all Canva's fault. Okay, so the MPC reached over 13,500 people through 7 in-person community conversations, 1 virtual one, and an online survey. They covered 83 counties and over 500 school districts. I'm sorry. Maybe if I stand way over here. No, the track is broken on this thing. Well, I got you that much in detail. So why is that up there? So the percentage is at the end of each of those bullets are the number of parents who thought that issue was important or very important. So that's the percentage of parents in all of the surveys and all of the community conversations that they held that thought that these issues were the important ones. Thank you for not leaving me, Kyle. I appreciate it. So the first one is supporting students' growing mental health needs. So in this topic area, they covered the shortage of mental health providers, both in schools and in communities, the need for students to have at least 1 adult in each school that they can trust, the need to focus mental health resources and funding better, and mental health needs of teachers and staff need to be considered as well. School safety, so creating safe and welcoming school environments for students and families is the second bullet up here. And school safety is multifaceted and is the primary concern. This was 92% of parents thought this was important or very important. School safety and student mental health are inextricably linked. It's appreciated when schools have open lines of consistent, timely, and communication from the districts. Active shooter and lockdown drills are significant stressors for students. And school officers should be trained, I just did it again, appropriately and the next line is going to say something about, not acting like law enforcement. And then I think the last item on that one was, thank you. Refrain from operating from a law enforcement perspective. And aging school buildings are both unsafe and inequitable for students. The third bullet is addressing, stop that. The third bullet is addressing students' diverse learning needs, including learning gaps and unfinished learning. Thank you. Maybe that'll keep it from going off crazy. Why does it do that?
Just drive.
Thank you. I'm way down at the bottom of this, and it keeps flipping. So the third bullet is addressing students' diverse learning needs, including learning gaps and unfinished learning, all the way down. Thank you. So it actually is, right here. Social emotional learning and student mental health are bigger priorities than academics for many parents, and that was true of me. Access to appropriate and timely individualized education programs, IEPs, and 504 plans is difficult in some districts. Concerns about unfinished learning were reported in both urban and rural districts more frequently. Students need access to before and after school programs, tutoring, and extracurricular activities. And standardized testing takes up a significant time and creates undue pressures on students and teachers. High school students face significant academic pressures from their parents and their peers. Whoa, thank you. And then the final bullet is supporting school staff so that they can focus on student learning. This is where we talk about teachers are leaving the profession and recruitment is down. Educators are being asked to do a lot to support students' academic, social, emotional, and mental health needs. Public opinion about educators is having a negative effect on retention of teachers. There's overall not enough staff. And then staff deserves better pay, more meaningful professional development, and pathways to certification. So given all of that, we've identified the following legislative priorities, which disappeared behind you, or asks for this year. So ask number 1 is supporting increased and sustained school funding. We'll ask them to support the governor's budget, which will include in universal pre-K, tutoring, teacher retention, and recruitment. Can I have this while you're doing that? Good, there you go. And this is where we're going to point out that a lot of the funding in the school budgets of the last couple of years was one-time COVID funding that has an expiration date, so we need to find permanent sources of funding to replace those. The second one is supporting the Seizure Safe Schools bill, and this one is that's to ensure that schools are well equipped with the tools necessary to provide a safe and enriching environment for students living with epilepsy and other seizure disorders. This is a continuation from last year. Last year, this legislation passed the House but stalled in the Senate, never got a hearing, and is being reintroduced, so we are still advocating for it. Ask number 3 is supporting gun violence prevention legislation. This is a package of bills that's going to be introduced in both the House and the Senate. The package includes the strengthening the background checks, taking the current law and changing out the word pistols for firearms to make it broader, right? Passing an extreme risk protection order or red flag law, and secure storage law that includes penalties if a child accesses a weapon. And then the fourth one is supporting mental health and wellness, supporting programs to help students experiencing mental health issues. This is an ongoing problem from before the pandemic. It's been exacerbated by the ongoing public health crisis and the school safety issues. And we want to fund more mental health professionals in schools and expand training and safety resources for educators. We had a couple of other additional priorities that we were looking at, but two of them are supposed to have passed before we're even in Lansing in March. One of them is the expansion of the Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act to include LGBTQIA+. They had their first hearing on Thursday. And the other one is repealing the retention piece of the third grade reading law. That also had its first hearing on Tuesday this past week, and it passed out of committee, so it'll be voted on by the Senate next week. We are also working behind the scenes on strengthening and clarifying the current law on seclusion and restraint, but we're doing a lot of work on that, and it is probably going to be a priority in 2024. So here's the flyer for our Advocacy Day, which is Wednesday, March 22nd. We've secured the Heritage Hall, which is actually underneath the Capitol building itself for our program. We have the governor giving a welcome, the Michigan PTA president giving a welcome. We have presentations on advocacy, on the Seizure Safe Schools bill, on Be Smart. We'll have tabling of organizations. And then we're providing a box lunch, and then we encourage our members to go to schedule meetings with their legislators to go advocate for those asks, right? And click. So Voter Voice is the online software that's used for both national and state advocacy communications. PTA members can receive legislative action alerts from Michigan PTA and National PTA. And have their voices heard on issues impacting education and children in Lansing and in Washington, D.C. This software doesn't cost any money for participants to use. Both Michigan PTA and National PTA pay the costs. And as you can see, you still have to register for each one separately. And you can find both of these things on our respective websites, so michiganpta.org and pta.org for national. I would be remiss if I failed to mention that there is a statewide Great Lakes PTA that is available for anyone to join to support the general mission of PTA. Your $10 membership dues fund advocacy efforts that help all Michigan children and change policies and laws in your city, our state, and on Capitol Hill. If you're old school and you prefer paper to QR codes, I did bring some envelopes with me today. Now you can't say you weren't asked. And then this is my contact information. This is how you can reach me. I'm currently halfway through a 3-year term in this role, and I must decide in the next couple months what role I want to continue to serve in the next term. Today I'm going to end with PTA's mission, which is up there. To make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. Thank you. Sorry for all the. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen, and thank you, Kyle. We will move on to our words of offering today. Our contributions help to support the mission and vision of our beloved community. The projects and people who are served reside among us as brothers and sisters in one human family. And we'd like to welcome any visitors that are joining us. If you are visiting us for the first time, and if you're comfortable doing so, we'd like to invite you to please stand and tell us where you're from and how you heard about us. We'd like to meet you. Anybody new today? All right. We'll go ahead and move on to our celebration of joys and sharing of sorrows. A perfect heart is one that has known love and loss, joy and sorrow. The perfect Helen Head? Yes. Yes. That's all the information I have at this point. I'm sorry, but I don't have anything else to share with you. Please rise as you are willing and able to sing our second hymn, number 301, Touch the Earth, Reach the Sky. We will sing all 5 verses. And our closing words today are from Frederick Douglass. It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men.